Hello.
Hi. Evening.
That's my throat. That's my throat. That'll hurt.
Excuse me. Mayor Pro Tem Jackson, it is 6 o'clock, so I believe you are good to get us going.
All right. So we need to call this meeting to order. City Council City Council study session, Tuesday, January the 19th. So do we need to say the Pledge of Allegiance and all that stuff too for this as the same? Okay. All right. So we call to order. And then also can anyone have any cell phones? If you turn them off or put them on silence, please, at this time. At this time, can you join me into the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wow. Okay. All right. All right. Clerk Domingo, can you do roll call, please?
Councilmember Clark, Reed, Jackson,
Here.
Lawler, Lanou,
Here.
Williamson,
Here.
and Mayor Snyder.
Okay, at this time, I'd just like to turn it over to Councilman Wilson. He's going to go ahead and do our City Council study session at this time.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Jackson reached out to me earlier today since Mayor Snyder couldn't make it to the meeting tonight because of so much fortunate incidents. Mayor Pro Tem Jackson wanted me to help assist with this since I've done this before with the last council. And we also want to recognize that tonight, since there's only 4 of us here, we probably want to keep this a bit short. And Mayor Pro Tem Jackson suggested, and I also agree, we probably want to schedule another study session before the next council meeting. That way more council members have the opportunity to make their input heard and their goals and objectives heard. And I think there's some good that can come from, I'm so sorry if you guys hear Paw Patrol in the background, but they're always there when you need them. And then the other thing is we've always rushed to goal. Well, since I've been on council, we really rushed this process every time we've done it. And I think it's a good idea for us to take our time. Again, not too long, but let's have a couple of meetings. Let's talk about these things. And then let's put together a really cool dashboard for the interim city manager on what we want to accomplish over the next 2 years at a minimum. And what are some short-term, what are some long-term feasible goals. If you look at the goals that we had in the past, they're very overarching and they didn't have a lot of steps for success. They're like, fix the roads. Well, there's only so many roads you can fix with our budget. So I wanted to maybe, is Councilmember Reed on I see that Councilmember Reed's on. Is she able to participate?
We're working to get her moved over to the panelist.
Okay, so I was hoping we could kind of do like a round robin of council members taking turns saying what their priorities might be, and I'll just do one at a time to kind of see where we're at. And I'll start so that no one else has to be the first. One of the things that I know there's a need for, and we should be trying to help make happen, is senior housing. Not just low income, but market rate, affordable senior housing. We have a demand for it. There's been a market study done. There's been several market studies done. And I know that there's some traction on this in the community. I think that council can be really helpful in getting things out of the way so that senior housing can be developed. So that was my first one. Feel free to chime. This isn't formal, so this is if we were in a study session, we'd be sitting around a table just kind of talking. So if someone wants to chime in with what your next priority might be.
Go ahead, Lanu. I'll wait.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Okay. So I have gone about thinking about this in a lot of different ways. And when I learned of what was shifting for today and thinking about the immediate short-term goals and what is most feasible, I pivoted and tried to get as micro as I could. So I see that the number one most important thing is building robust working relationships based on strong communications and strategic planning. And I see 3 elements to that. And this is in no particular order, but those are the city administration, staff, and all city operations doing as much as we can to really the overarching element is using what we can where we are to create as best service as we possibly can. And so starting with the city, I know we go directly through the city manager. So that's the critical bottleneck that we are in and have been in, and making sure that everything that we do moving forward is done with forethought to some of the barriers that might be down the road as well. And then council member training. Sorry if I'm doing a lot at once. I know you said one thing, but I just thought about it this way. And so beyond the Michigan Municipal League, I think that there are more resources at our hands that we can be utilizing and having either subcommittees or just different ways of holding each other accountable for the more specific things that we want to tackle, whether it be senior housing or, food access. And then the last thing is public participation. I've been looking into what we have with being a redevelopment ready community to have a public participation plan, and also trying to see what other cities have a public participation plan that have a similar population that we do, and then as comprehensive as we can be in that planning process. Those are what I see being feasible within the next year.
Well, I see Shane definitely brought up one of the top concerns of mine, one of my top concerns, and then you did also. So I could just concur with that to even just make it short. And then the other thing is continue to really tap into getting a permanent city manager. Because I do know a lot of people, our community is worried that we won't get what we need at this time. And so we can continue to go forward so we're not being stagnant. So I would add that to the agenda too, that we could get done here very soon. So, there's not many more things if we look in definitely with trying to get things within a short-term goal. As long as we can get some communication, I agree with you. As long as we can get some training and we can get some housing in here that are affordable and yet sustainable and will bring in more business, more population to Albion. So I guess there's one thing, I think it still goes underneath your relationships with our city operations. And that's just dealing with, YMCA coming in and any kind of recreations. There's many people that want to be involved. So that would be it for me.
Just one follow-up from the recreation and that transition, as well as the EDC chamber and DDA. There's a lot transitioning right now. So yeah, there's certainly room for growth in all of that as well.
I also, in the vein of public participation, one of the things I had talked to several council colleagues about was how hard it is for citizens to participate in the governing process in Albion. We only find out about these things when there's like an official review of, did someone miss a water bill? Did someone not pay a parking ticket? Did someone file their taxes late? And any one of those things could keep someone from participating in an official capacity with the city on any of our boards or commissions, which does leave out many critical voices. And so I don't have an answer for this. So usually I bring something up, I have an idea of how to solve it. So I apologize in advance that I don't know how to solve this problem, but we do have to think about how we as a community engage with residents who may not be able to participate in the official government processes, sometimes by no fault of their own, right? Like sometimes circumstances happen, but we are a government for them too. So I want to just, under the public participation piece, really think about how do we design different task force or work groups so that we don't have to follow some of the same stringent protocols for the boards and commissions, which I still think it's important that everyone pay their taxes, everyone pay their water bill. God knows I get a parking ticket once every couple of months around here. But I also think that there are some people whose circumstances just don't permit them to serve in official capacities, and we really need their voice at the table. So I think that is important as well. And then the other thing I wanted to add, and I know Councilwoman Clark, if she was here, she would be like beating the table down about this. And it's how do we focus our attention on gaining resources? And this goes back to there's two different things going on here. So one is, in the past, when we've had a more well-functioning city hall, we've had a city manager and an assistant city manager, and a combination of that group in those roles. One of them would be really strong at grant writing or seeking out funds from the state or other sources, or at least coordinating those funds. So this goes back to, we don't have a permanent city manager right now. So what we have is we have an interim who is also the assistant city manager before becoming that role. So we can't really fill the assistant yet either. So when we do place a city manager, then we can give some guidance to that city manager. If it's Haley, that'd be great too. To say, hey, in your next, when you want an assistant, we have a goal of getting more resources to the community. Make sure that that's part of what you're looking for, and she or he can do that. So I want to make sure that getting more resources to the community becomes part of what we want to do, and council should be as helpful as we can in making that happen. So I hope that wasn't too much meddling in the operations of the city. But I know that if we didn't say it, Councilwoman Clark would be all up and down on the computer about it later. So grant resources, state resources, federal funding, etc.
Makes sense. I agree.
Absolutely. I agree as well. It has to happen. I also wanted to add that before this change, I was prepared to share about workforce development, because that was a former goal from 2019. And I followed up with Sonia Brown, who was the lead contact for that. And she was sharing a bit about her vision and intention being to help create more quality jobs in Albion for folks who have gone on to secure higher education and still continue to live in Albion. And so I think that is an important thing, in the interim before these higher quality or higher education jobs, professional jobs are here. That is something that we have to take into account about having, not necessarily on council, but as a whole, as a community, where are young professionals able to connect with resources and network and really build upon their expertise and probably, want to serve our community in doing so. And then I also reached out with, connected with Christine Bowman at the EDC, and they had quite a bit to share about the work that they're doing for Albion's workforce. So I'm just going to briefly cover those things. The first is that they post jobs that are available in Albion on Monday and throughout the week, as there have been a lot of openings. They're also starting a roundtable for businesses to collaborate and discuss key topics and resources. And that's going to be launching this spring, along with an entrepreneurship program that's really being developed with a lens toward diversity, equity, and inclusion, and done in partnership with business owners here in Albion. And then the last thing is that there actually is a workforce development task force that they have started with a subcommittee specifically for childcare and looking at how the city can meet those needs across all income levels. And they offered that for the workforce development task force, if one or two council members wanted to join their meetings, that would be a good opportunity to have a connection there for this ongoing discussion. And they will be rolling out an employer survey to gather more information to really have a stronger baseline of what we're looking for and what we're in need of in terms of employee incentives, job readiness, training, and just having better systems for serving our workforce. So I did want to offer that I would be glad to be one of those members, but also if someone else feels strongly about it too, I'm definitely wanting to have a discussion.
Something we have not done on council since I've been on is there's been like a lack of understanding about like what the EDC, what the DDA, what all these different groups do, the trust, all the different, maybe this is the time for us to think about, like, I don't think we necessarily need to take seats on each of those commissions or boards, but maybe we can each say, I want to follow one of these boards or commissions and report back regularly about them. Because one of the things that happens, so Linda, you're sharing lots of information from the EDC. The EDC is literally doing a million things in Albion right now, right? And what happens is we come to council and we'll say, why aren't there workforce development, this, that, or the other thing? But then Linda's like, well, I was just at a meeting today and there it was. Maybe part of one of our council goals could be for each of us to take on a commission to just follow it through the year or the next 2 years, to be able to gain a better understanding and really get the knowledge out there in the community about what is taking place, right? Because information is really powerful in this community. If you have the right information, it can go a long way. But if you're armed with the wrong stuff, then you're gonna feel really little at a meeting at some point. So I just want to put that out there as a suggestion. I think we're all kind of stretched in all of the work that we do. But I would even be willing to take on one of those and say, I'll follow the rec commission or I'll follow the DDA and what they're doing, just to kind of bring back regularly to council. This is what's going on. This is how it's happening. So that's my 2 cents. We don't have to, but that's my suggestion.
If I may say, back when Mrs. Mitchell was here, when Dr. Mitchell was here, we had town hall meetings where each one of those entities presented their own self, what they were doing and how they were planning on helping the city to progress. And I think that would really be a good thing. A lot of people came to those, and each different entity had the opportunity to present to the people. The people had the opportunity to ask questions they needed to know. And I think that would be really, really good, because us following them, we might not be understanding or even seeing what another person would like to know about. And I just think town hall meetings from time to time is good. I would also, as it came down to recreation, at one point in time when the former mayor, Mayor Atchison, had given assignments out to people to do, I was working on recreation, and we had a committee, and we were going through and discussing what might be good for the city. And I had gotten in touch with a lot of people, had went to the school and interviewed kids, and things like that as to things they would like to have done. I'm glad to see the Y is going to be doing a lot of that because it's really needed. Next thing I would like to really discuss or to put out there to be thought about is something for like teenagers. And we talked about that last year too, that when Mr. Cornelius had the Earn, Learn, and Play program to where the teenagers worked through the summer and were able to, I think they were paid like $25 a week. And with that, they also learned how to handle bank account and how to save money and stuff like that. I really think that we have got to start educating our kids more, and that's going to also help them stay out of trouble because it's going to give them something to do and something that they would like to do because they would get paid for doing it. Now, I know we started talking about it last year, and I don't know if it went to the state level or not, because I know that they do have work laws, but I'm sure there's a way to get by around it because Stacy and Stuart and Jim, they had a little group that they were working with that got paid for doing the jobs that they did. And I think that would be good. Another thing, when it comes to the city, we had also, when Mrs. Mitchell was here, one time we had a city cleanup. We had gotten together people who had trucks and things that would help senior citizens that didn't have, who couldn't take their stuff to the distribution center or whatever you call it. And so they would pick the stuff up and take it there to it. And this, they would call City Hall and let them know who they are and where they needed, their stuff picked up at. I think this is another thing that we could do to help to get some things in the city moved out that needed to be moved out and cleaned up at that time. Next thing, and this I think is necessary. I think all entities of the city, all parts of it, we need to sit down and have a discussion on what we do and how we do it and how it should be done. Now shut up.
Thank you, Councilwoman Reed. When I began sharing my goals for what I see for this year, I kind of had the same ideology in mind. I think that a lot of the roles that are having to shift we need kind of refreshers about the original intent, and then in that we can really be able to look forward more judiciously and reimagine the role, but making sure we're all on the same page with whatever change has to happen, instead of kind of feeling thrust into something and then finding out later it's not even our role. I think that that's definitely been a problem. I did want to also just acknowledge, some of the other big things that I've heard brought up relate to the city's public infrastructure. And I was wondering, Interim Manager Snyder, if you might be able to just provide a brief update about asset management plans, because I thought that I recalled that there were several in motion, and those would help the capital improvements plan, which is, I think, a really important piece as well.
Yes, council approved the proposal back in the fall for Whiteman Associate to create a master asset management plan. And within that plan, there are different areas. We have the transportation asset management plan, facilities, our bridges and structures. And they have been given all of the information, and they are working to put together that plan. And once we have received that official copy, it will go before council and for final review and approval. But it is in the work.
Thank you. But one other thing too, with regard to the public participation and just overall operations, is looking ahead to our comprehensive plan. It technically has to be updated and reapproved after this year. It's a 5-year plan. So a lot of the goals that we're not talking about today, I think right now for the long term, are in there, and in the process of updating those, I look forward to having that more, robust dialogue around the many goals and needs that we have as a city.
Okay, Shane.
What'd you say? Oh, I can't hear you.
I click it the right way, I think I'll get it. Go ahead and conclude. Shut it down.
Shut it down. We're going to shut this meeting down. Okay.
I'm sorry. Adjourn. I said I had to get. Go ahead and adjourn. I do believe that all of what was said, and especially when Councilman Reed came on, it came together. And I am agreeable with the long-term and the short-term goals. I just know that some of the things that Councilman Lanu was talking about are some of the things that you and I said we were wanting to hold off for our mayor when she came back.
Yeah, so we have to move in. If there aren't any more goals we want to share tonight, we've all there's been some consensus. We can't make a decision here, but we would like to have another study session before the next council meeting with Mayor Snyder, and hopefully with Councilmember Clark and Councilmember Lawler can be in attendance. It'd be nice if the city clerk could shoot out these minutes as soon as she can get them done in the next day or two, so that we can have a clear picture of what all has been said. That way we can start to put together what I would call like a dashboard, so we can start creating what we want to look at for the next 2 years, and be able to insert more information in that. So if there are any more comments, we need to move into public comments. Does anyone have a public comment tonight during the study session?
I'm not seeing any.
Seeing none, interim city manager, you probably want to wait until the next meeting for your report. Any other council member comments?
Councilor Williamson.
Councilmember Reed?
At the last meeting for precinct 2, I did not have the things that when we all went through and told the things in our precinct. Would you like for me to do that now, or would you like for me to hold that until our meeting?
We could probably submit that. We could probably submit that in writing. That way we can get it added to the list from everyone else's from the last meeting. Would that be okay?
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Reed.
Councilmember Reed, if you want to get those to me.
Yes, I will. In
Perfect.
fact, I've got one set run off for everybody.
Oh,
I know that, Councilmember Reed.
And then I thought about, that means I've got to go to their house to take it. I'll get it to you, and then you can get it out to them. Okay.
If there aren't any more council member or mayor comments, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there support? Okay, all those in favor, Clerk Domingo, please call the roll.
Councilmember Reed?
Here. Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
Lanu?
Yes.
And Williamson.
Yes.
See you all at 7 o'clock.
All right. See you guys. Thank you so much.
So we're back on at 7 though. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes, we're back at 7. That's another ID number. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Gotcha.
See you then.